Hello, Tracey.
Hello, Richard. How are you?
I'm very well. Now, Tracey has written a play, and she's in a play called Witch.
Yes, I am.
You are. Now, tell us about this. This is going on at the Alma Tavern on the 8th and 9th of September. But tell me about the play.
Well, the play basically is written based on England's most complete written record of a witch trial, which is an amazingly obscure 6 typewritten pages, and that's it. So we've just got the evidence of 4 people with no verdict, nothing. So we have no idea what happened to the accused.
Where did you find this?
Well, I found it in the library at the Witchcraft Museum in Boscastle.
Of course you did.
Where else?
I didn't even know that there was such a thing as the Witchcraft Museum.
It's a fascinating place. If you're interested in social history, it's a really, really good collection to go and have a look at.
Oh, right. Okay. Have they got a lot of stuff in there?
Loads. It's the largest collection of witchcraft paraphernalia in the world, I believe.
Crikey, O'Reilly, ducking stores and such like. Yeah, yeah. Do they have a ducking store?
No, they don't, but they do have a pricking pin, and
dear.
that features in Witch as well.
Oh, does it? I don't want to know about that. Do I want to know about that? Perhaps I do. I don't know. So there you were. I mean, did you go in with the specific idea that you would come out with something, or did you just come across this?
Well, basically, what I wanted to do, we'd started Circular Spears Productions, our production company, about 6 months previously, and I wanted to write something for us to do. So I played around with a few ideas and eventually thought, what about dramatising a witch trial transcript and preserving people's actual words and seeing what was actually said?
Right.
So I went to the museum and said, can you help me? And they gave me this case. And when I looked at it, I thought, well, this stuff is fascinating, but it's not going to translate well to the stage in this format because there's just not enough. So I started researching around the subject more widely, and I drew in a lot of experiences from other people. So everything that happens in Witch has actually happened to somebody in real life. And we always hold a Q&A with our audience after each show. And when I say that to them, you hear this kind of little ripple of kind of intakes of breath, because I think then it brings home just how little you needed to do to actually be accused of being a witch.
Indeed, and when we dip back into historic happenings and then present it nowadays, people don't believe it. People say, "Oh no, they couldn't possibly have said that. That couldn't possibly have happened." But people used to think differently in those days.
Absolutely, and that's one of the things that we try and bring out. I mean, we use 3 fictitious characters. So we have the accuser, the magistrate who listens to the evidence, and the accused, who is a herbalist and midwife. So basically what I've tried to do is draw in as much as I could of the actual evidence that was given in this lady's trial. The real lady that the case is based on lived in Lyme Regis in 1687. And whether or not any of this stuff was true, somebody still had to sit through a court case and listen to all this evidence being given against her.
So what exactly was she accused of?
She was accused of having bewitched a young lad who was 18 called Nathaniel Scorch. Nathaniel started suffering from fits, and 3 of the people that give evidence are Nathaniel and his mother and father, Richard and Elizabeth, and then there's another lady called Mary Tillman, whose daughter Elizabeth died a couple of years previously, having also allegedly been bewitched by this lady, except obviously she clearly got away with that one because she was still alive in 1687 to go through it a second time with the Scorch family.
So, presumably, there was epilepsy in this family.
It could have been a number of different things. I mean, one of the things that we don't actually do is say it must be such and such. You know, we talk about...
You just present it as it was presented.
Exactly, I mean, for a play about witchcraft accusations, it actually talks very little about witchcraft. So you have no riding on broomsticks, you've got no animal familiars or pacts with the devil. What I've done is taken all the little tiny mundane things from real life, looking at somebody the wrong way, having the wrong kind of knowledge, knowing too many secrets. And that's what Witch is about.
There's a few pubs that you could go in these days if you look at somebody the wrong way. You know, I don't know that you'll be accused of witchcraft, but you'll end up being kicked out the door.
I can imagine.
Now, was it the case? Did you discover that it was the case that the onus was on the witch or the so-say witch to prove their innocence rather than somebody to prove their guilt? Yeah,
I mean, if you're bringing a case of murder back then, because this was all kind of Tudor, Elizabethan, Jacobean, essentially you had to be able to prove that the evidence you had against the person was so strong that they didn't need counsel for the defence. So if you were accused of murder, basically you'd had it. So that's why it's quite interesting that in this particular case, the lady got away with the first accusation when Elizabeth Tillman died, but we don't know what happened to her after Nathaniel Scorch's accusation.
So you don't? Do you know the outcome of the trial?
No.
Oh, you don't?
No, I've got one. I'm trying to find out because since I've started doing this, she's become a bit of an obsession for me, and I've actually been given a contract by Troy Books in Cornwall to write a book about my research and expand on it. So one of the things I'm desperate to do is actually find out what happened to her. And my last port of call is now the National Archives. So I'm going to go there and see if I can find out.
Well, what a fabulous and interesting thing to get involved with, and all because of the Witching Museum. Very good. Now, just tell me, the play, you've done this for school children, haven't you? And you've done it for a few other audiences as well. Yeah,
we've actually had quite a varied selection of audiences. We got asked to take it to a school in Cornwall last year, and so we've performed to two lots of 100 school children, and you could have heard a pin drop.
Yeah.
We've taken it into universities. We've also done an academic conference. That was a couple of weeks ago, actually in Bristol.
Yeah.
It was the Creative Histories Conference.
And it's the Alma Tavern on the 8th and 9th.
That's right, 8 o'clock at the Alma Tavern.
Well, I am fascinated in this. Because there is no logical end to... I can ask you this. I can ask you the question that I want to ask you, which is, how does it end?
Well...
But I can't ask you that, can I?
You can ask me, but I won't necessarily tell you. No, basically, it's written as a discussion piece. So there is no straightforward linear journey from A to B with a character who is clearly innocent or clearly guilty. What I wanted to do was have the audience see what we were presenting and make up their own minds.
What you wanted to do was leave yourself some space to come back with which two? The verdict.
Return of the Witch.
I wish you well with it. Lovely to talk to you, Tracey. Thank you. What a fascinating story. Thank you, Tracey.
Thanks a lot.
Bye-bye.